but that defeats the whole purpose.
I did it one time, and that was because of technology failure, okay? So if I'm gonna be held, indefinitely on that one there, forever, I apologize. Now, I was saying that if that's the case, if that's what we're gonna do, then we ought to proceed and do that. Put out a notice, if there's groups that are out there that want to, adopt the city, and there's various different organizations, we can get the word out of it.
What are we doing with dumpster day? Are we talking about dumpster day?
We're talking about clean communities again, which we just discussed that we didn't want to do any street cleanup in groups. It's defeating the purpose about putting that out like that. It makes it just as dangerous.
Do we need to do any business pursuant to dumpster day, or we can just move forward with it the way that it is? Do we have to resolve to do it on the 24th?
Somebody make the motion. I'm agreeing with it.
Go ahead, Mrs. Owen, it's your motion.
I make a motion to do dumpster day with the stipulations stated by Mr. Dilge on Saturday, October 24th, to have it then.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
I would like to revert back over to old business. I had my other agenda from some things that I marked on it, and I'd like to focus on what they are. Under old business, let me go to new business first. That's an important one. There is a resident in town who, I think I contacted you, Randy, on this one here, but there's a resident in town that wants to put up a small little kiosk outside of our building here, and put books there so that if anybody wants to take out a book, they could take it. They could bring books and replace them with whatever, but I think that there's a good resident in town that's got some good intentions. They would like to provide books for people to be able to read, and she wants to put it right there where the dirt path area is, where we just simply had the sidewalk area, and put it somewhere within that location. And I think there's even a park bench there, and people can come over here, they can take a book, take a look at it, and go from there. And now it just dawned on me, are we running the risk of COVID-19 by handling a book? I certainly hope not. Now, Mr. Lafferty, please guide me on how that would be done properly. Obviously, it would have to be done through the auspices of the chief, so that they're going to be aware that we're doing it. So I'd like to hear your.
I don't have the response that I sent you, Mayor, but I believe what I indicated was that, assuming that this is a not-for-profit entity, that the council could enter into a license agreement with that individual, provided that they provided adequate indemnification and insurance in case anyone were to get hurt, and that the placement of this book drop or whatever it is would have to be approved by the municipal engineer.
I don't agree with one of the aspects of what you just said, Randy, and that is that the person would have to provide insurance. I mean, we have insurance on our grounds over here. I'm not exactly so sure what could be the risk of taking a book off of a shelf and sitting on the park bench and reading it and then putting it back or taking it with you or replacing it with another book. I mean, why would somebody have to take out an insurance policy to protect the city for a very harmless act of reading a book?
For example,
couldn't the city just add that in with our notify the JIF and tell them that we have a small little kiosk out there in which people want to exchange books? Couldn't we just simply do that?
Well, but that's not what council moved to do when this came up before.
Exactly.
That's not what we opted to do, Mayor. We opted that Mrs. Vander would get together with the Historic Society at the invitation of Mrs. Rose to put this show.
That's not what I'm talking about.
Wrong. Absolutely right. That they would
No,
put together
you're
this
absolutely wrong.
offering.
That's not what I'm talking about.
What are you talking about?
There is a lady in town who lives down the other end of Cumberland Avenue, and she wants to put up a little kiosk outside of our municipal building over here. Not Mrs. Vander. Mrs. Vander wanted to, in fact, use our Risley School as part of a library system. This particular person wants to do something where she has a little kiosk, and she's going to set it up. Apparently, I think she's got the kiosk or whatever, and she's going to have it attached into the ground. And people will be there to help themselves to read a book if that's what they would like to do, or deposit a book. You know, and all we need to do is just notify the chief that we have this little miniature structure that'll be out there so people can read. I don't
You have a
agree that
proposal?
somebody would have to provide insurance. I think that would be defeating the purpose of trying to get people more involved in reading.
And Mayor, my point was that if you're going to allow a private entity to use public property, the prudent course of action is to provide indemnity and insurance. It's going to be a kiosk, it's going to have doors where people can track their fingers or such, and I'm telling you, the JIF is going to tell you that you should get insurance. You should require insurance from the phone out. It's not you should.
So something as simple as a very, very good, kind gesture that would be beneficial to the entire community, especially our kids. She won't do that to have to take an insurance policy. I have a couple $1,000 or so. I can't imagine.
I make a motion, we open to the public.
Second.
Again,
Okay, Nelson?
Yes.
And, Mrs. Owen, okay.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No, I was talking. Who's interrupted me again? Anybody from the public that has anything to say?
I do.
And who do we have? Is it Mrs. Cassegrain?
And
I can speak?
Yes, please.
Well, I had asked some time ago for the code project to be under old business because it's so important. This is the how we govern our city. And I would really respectfully request that it be a standing agenda item under old business until you have a completed project in your hands. A lot of work went into all of this, and in due respect, I think that it deserves to be an agenda item. Secondly,
You're right. You're absolutely correct, Mrs. Cassegrain.
Thank you.
Can I say that, don't we already have this into the hands of the review with Mr.
Excuse me, but
Delivery?
I thought I was supposed to give up an update, and now you're interrupting me.
I'm sorry?
I don't know what's going on with this whole thing, but I have a very brief update to give you, and I would like to do that.
I'm sorry, I apologize. I'm sorry.
When you're working on your committee structures, this is one of the most important responsibilities that you as council have, to not let them get away from you like they have done. What I want to say is that the legal review was so excellent. I have to say again that this document will be improved from all the effort that Mr. Owen and I put in, with Mrs. Kent put in. It's going to be a very excellent document, and I'm very pleased to tell you that it has been forwarded by the attorney to the General Code Company, was well received from the email that, and he copied me, he kept me in the whole process. He did minor changes that really enhanced what we had done so far. The woman from General Code was quite pleased that she said it looked fine. She has to clear time in her schedule now because she didn't know the day it was coming, of course. But I am really pleased to tell you that it is in the hand of the General Code Company with the recommendations from your council code about the binder and the logo. That's in the hands of the graphic artist. So that's the report on General Code. And the other thing I want to say about Clean Communities is that there's a process through the ACUA, I believe, that's how people adopt roads. It's a clear process, so keep that in mind as you're debating that. So thank you for letting me discuss this.
Thank you, Mrs. Cassegrain, once again, for all the hard work and time that you put in. Mr. Solicitor, would it be my understanding that what the council would then have to do as we have to do an ordinance to adopt the new changes to the code, correct?
Well, the process is, as Ms. Casagrande indicated, she's been working closely with Mr. DeLucre from my office, and they have finalized their work. It's now in the hands of General Code. General Code needs to review our work, and then they will actually prepare an omnibus ordinance in order to reorganize your code so that things aren't scattered through. I mean, the problem has been that things get scattered through code, and what Casagrande did, along with Mr. Owen, was that they restructured the code, and we will be presenting an ordinance to council.
Okay, so are we there now and able to, at our next meeting, have a first reading of the introduction of the ordinance?
No, General
Hopefully
Code.
it's our meeting.
General Code has to do their work now, and then get it back to. So it's a process. It's a very lengthy, complicated process, but we're moving along, I think, very, very well.
So we're not there yet to be able to formally introduce an ordinance to finalize and adopt the code changes, correct?
We will be once General Code gets done their work. And so we've done everything we can do. The committee did everything they could do. Our office has done everything we can do. It's now in the hands of General Code, and we're subject to their timetable. So that's the process.
And Mrs. Casagrande, quite frankly, I truly would love to be able to put this to bed and move on with other business. And I do want to see to it that this will be finalized through adoption. I just didn't believe that's why it's not on the agenda. We're not there yet to be able to formally adopt it. We have to wait, as Mr. Lafferty just said. And once that has happened, then we're in a position to adopt it. So I think we have just a little bit more time left in front of us before we make the final adoption. But yes, we're going to adopt it. Please no question.
But what I'm saying is, if you put it on as old business, then I can give my report at the beginning of the meeting too, which I may have something to say next month. I may not, depending on what General Code does, but they may have questions for us, or there may be information that you'll want to have, but that was just my request, and it is an ongoing process until they have it completed.
I want this in the minutes for our next meeting. Mrs. Casagrande is going to, floor is going to be opened up to Mrs. Casagrande under old business for code team. Judy, honestly, I am very, very appreciative of all the time and hard work that you put into this. You really have done a phenomenal job.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else?
No, this, I'm speaking as a member. Okay. I just want to bring council up to date on a project that's going to take place in your community. This past weekend, my wife and I had the opportunity to help at a viewing and funeral for Kevin Weeks. The mayor mentioned his name at the beginning of the meeting. I have never met this person, but he was living in what we call the parsonage, or the church house, right down the street from City Hall, next door. And he was a youth pastor at that church. Unfortunately, his life was cut short at age 33. His left a wife and 6 children from ages 5 through 14. It was a tough weekend to go through for the situation. The reason my church was involved is Coastal Christian in Ocean City on 8th and West, because one of the brothers of the wife is a pastor at our church, a youth pastor also. So I learned a lot about this family. A organization that is affiliated with our church, and I'm asking every one of you to go to this website. It's called J19 Foundation. It stands for the scripture in the Bible, Joshua 1:9. So it's J19 Foundation. They have a short, brief, minute or so video about this project. This organization helps families whose parents have died of cancer and to help children. They put out a GoFundMe page a week before the services and during the services, and they have raised close to $75,000 and maybe even higher. The intent with this money is that the Weeks family wanted to purchase a house of their own on Cape May Avenue in this municipality. They are planning to raise $200,000. It is their goal. My wife and I looked at the house. It's on Cape May. Obviously, it needs a lot of work, but Kevin was working on this house prior to his long bout with this cancer. And according to the stories, his wife and children have gone to this property and have prayed and feel it's God's will that they have this house. So I'm saying all this to say that I want you to be aware of this. I don't know how or city council can get involved except to talk up things. I will be giving out more information as times come. But I felt kind of like honored because I worked here at Estell Manor that this is happening in Estell Manor. And it's something so positive for this family who needs this help. She homeschools her children. So this is going to be a major project in your community. And a number of people are going to be helping out with this house. So I just want you to be aware of it. This brief video explains everything that's going to take place. J19 Foundation. Thank you. Thank you. You're going to need it.
Is there anyone else from the public that wants to speak?
Yes.
Yep. Please state your name.
It's Creed Poe.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you, Randy. Creed Poe, 169 Cumberland Avenue. A few different things. Probably a lot more prosaic than what Judd was talking about, but sometimes that's just how these things go in a meeting, and obviously, Judd, our prayers are with that whole situation.
Thank you so much.
There have been various times in the past, and unfortunately it seems to get seized on when that happens by one particular council member, when the electric bill either gets combined with other meters, or the lights and other things that have nothing to do with the operation of the Risley School building are part of the meter that is read with the Risley School. It is not just the Risley School, it is a bunch of other things. That's been discussed many, many times in the past. Each time there is an anomalous bill, and we all find out, oh, it was because of all those other lights and other things. We certainly wouldn't mind if the service was adjusted to only have the school, but on the other hand, it wouldn't be worth the expense because it's all coming out of the same pot anyway. But perhaps if we could temper our desire for scoring points, then we can go from there.
Mr. Pogue, I went in to get a copy of the bill,
Yes, sir.
and it's a balance from the last bill of $338.83.
Yes.
New electric charges is $165.18 for a total of $504.01. So it was not for 1 month. It's
No.
a combination of.
And it is not only the building, is my larger point on that. That meter, for whatever the reason is, as service has been added and different things have been installed, other things are included on that meter, and so there's times where that winds up looking artificially high, but has nothing to do with the use, of the building. Personally, I wouldn't mind having the air at 65 because, I'm a polar bear, but that's not what happens over there. So, anyway, when people are going to plug in, Asplund and etc., I don't know how much that may contribute to it. Anyway, obviously figuring out the appropriate responsibilities for what is council power, because after all, there are some things that are 100% your power of the purse. Nothing can be spent without a full council approval, and some other things in this particular form of government, the way we have it this particular time, may wind up being the mayor, and the way that Faulkner Act change was done, you may need to look at some larger issues on that. I could say, I'm going to move on that for the moment. On the code piece, it's easy to Google this, so take a look at it, and it may wind up being an interesting lesson. The state was looking at changing mandatory minimum sentences for nonviolent crimes, which we come to find is a good goal. Then come to find out that official misconduct was going to have its sentence dramatically reduced. Come to find out that the paramour of a state senator has a son who is facing a sentence. And so suddenly that got introduced into the bill. And so now the bill is kind of getting set aside rather than wanting to tick off the state senator or wanting to fix it. Let's not let unnecessary material that really only benefits one person who is unable to comply with the basic rules that are already in place create havoc on what is otherwise a good project. Hopefully I've been specific enough for everybody to understand what I mean without being blatantly specific. But the other thing is that over the years, and I am one of them obviously, and I was a glutton for punishment, I did it twice, there's been about 30 of us that have served with a particular person, and there's not many of us who have good things to say about that. And
You have your 5 minutes, 20 seconds of timing.
well, you don't time anyone else, Joe, and you just proved my point. Thank you very much.
Personal attack.
Thank you very much for proving my point, Joe.
Randy, he's had his 5 minutes. Is there anybody else in the public, please?
Yeah, I have something to say.
This is for the public.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna speak to you like a member of the public. Is council going to recognize the passing of Mrs. Battistini by sending flowers? City can't pay for it by law, it has to be it would have to be the 5 members of council or whoever chooses to participate, to pitch in and do it.
We're
And
in a
certainly I'm
public
willing to
session
do it.
right now. We're in the public portion of the meeting right now, Mr. Bills.
It's a public appeal.
Not personal conduct, the council. Bring it up after the public portion is concluded.
Mr. Dilge is a member of the public, Mr. Mayor. He has a right to speak as well.
He's also a member
Count
of
me
the
in.
city council. Yes, and he certainly
I'll
has.
be in on that too.
I'll be in.
Yeah, let me know.
Okay, $20 each, I think, that's all.
Who do we
sorry
send
to
it to?
everybody, I'll order the flower.
To you.
You in, Mayor?
Is there anybody else from the public? Is there
I guess
anybody
he's
else
not.
from the public that has anything to say, please? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Randy, is there anybody else? Because I can't see from looking at the
Yeah, I see no one else has unmuted, and there is no comment in the chat window.
Is there anybody here, is there anybody on the other end that wanted to discuss anything about a nuisance problem that they're incurring or pertaining to the kiosk that they were looking to put up? Is anybody on the other end for that?
They're,
Randy said there's no one else.
meaning they want to speak.
Right.
Motion to close the public portion?
Second.
Making that motion.
Yes.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion to adjourn?
Second.
Well, you
All in
already-
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good night.